Well, only everything happened on this Friday. Lots of Eurovision news to talk about. Looks like we're not going to Ukraine. Not a surprise, we're going elsewhere. But are we? Let's talk this through. Let's talk Eurovision. Sup, you Eurovision fools. Matt, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel. So the EBU a few hours ago made a big announcement on social media, and I'm going to read that to you right now here. It's a long one. Following their win at the Eurovision Song Contest in May, the EBU has been exploring options for the hosting of next year's competition with Ukraine's public broadcaster. I'm just going to skip some parts. Previously staged the event in 2017, yada yada yada. It has become a well-known tradition. The winner of the contest hosts the competition the following year, providing certain criteria, including ensuring the viability of staging the event and the safety of all stakeholders, including the public, are met. Now, given the ongoing war since the Russian invasion of this year's winning country, the EBU has taken time to conduct a full assessment and feasibility study with both the broadcaster, third-party specialists, including safety, security issues, and it's one of the most complex TV productions in the world, yada yada yada. 12 months of preparation is needed. Following objective analysis, this is the important part, the reference group, the ESC's governing board, has with deep regret concluded that given the current circumstances, the security and operational guarantees required for the broadcaster to host, organize, and produce the Eurovision Song Contest under the rules cannot be fulfilled by the broadcaster. The EBU would like to thank UAPBC for their wholehearted cooperation and commitment in exploring all scenarios in the weeks since Kalush Orchestra's win. And share their sadness and disappointment that next year's contest cannot be held in Ukraine. So that's the big news going on. The EBU has been supporting UAPBC across the whole range of areas since the invasion. Will ensure will continue to do so. The very important part here, as the result of this decision, in accordance with the rules to ensure the continuity of the event, the EBU will now begin discussion with the BBC as this year's runner-up to potentially host the 23 Eurovision Song Contest in the United Kingdom. And it's our full intention that Ukraine's win will be reflected in next year's shows. This will be a priority for us in our discussions with the eventual hosts. So, according to this, first of all, we know the Ukraine will not host. There's more to come on that, actually. But based on this, it says the potential host of 23 is UK, which means there's a 99% sure that we are going to the United Kingdom. They were the runner-up. It makes perfect sense. They have more than enough suitable options. And I think most of us would agree that is the right decision and the proper host replacement, for the lack of a better word. And one thing that stood out to me, the line was, in accordance with the rules, we will begin discussion with the BBC. Because previously, there wasn't really a rule in place for such circumstances for hosting that would automatically go to second place. That is great if that's the case, because usually they didn't want the second place to be a country they don't want to host either. You know what I mean? So that this is, according to them, now part of the rules is pretty darn cool. But there is a big but in this whole situation, and that is the UK is not happy with that decision, and there has been a lot of things already been put out there. Let's talk about the minister, Ukraine's Minister of Culture. His name is Oleksandr Tkachenko. He has demanded, not just asked, demanded to reverse the decision by the EBU. This was not a mutual agreement that the Ukraine said, yeah, let's just go elsewhere. No, that was solely a EBU decision. Ukraine feels as there should be more conversations, more talking. Let me read you what the statement says. It's also a little bit more in response to the published statement of the EBU on the impossibility of hosting Eurovision in Ukraine. We want to emphasize the following. Ukraine does not agree with the nature of a decision. When we were confronted with the fact without decision on other options, but we strongly believe that we have every reason to hold further negotiations in order to find a joint solution that will satisfy all parties. We honestly won Eurovision and have fulfilled all the conditions within the deadlines for the process of approving its holding in Ukraine. We have provided answers and guarantees on safety standards and possible venues for the competition. Hosting Eurovision in Ukraine is a strong signal to the whole world that supports Ukraine now. We will demand to change this decision because we believe that we will be able to fulfill all the commitments as we have repeatedly emphasized to the EBU. That is why we demand additional negotiations on hosting Eurovision in Ukraine. Ukraine, the team, they are not happy. It was purely on the EBUs, and let's be real here. I know it's a sucky situation, and we kind of knew this could be happening because Ukraine desperately wants to hold the contest in Ukraine, in the country that is currently at war with another country, not at their own fault. I get all of that, but the reality is anyone going there would be at risk. How can they promise safety and security if there are bombs being thrown, people being killed, and it's devastating? If you have people coming from all over the continent and the world to Ukraine, could you imagine any sort of attack on the event with plenty of NATO members in there? It's not NATO land, but people go in there. It's just such a big risk. Do we want to risk like a worldwide war over this? This is a scary situation, so I understand the very difficult situation the EBU finds themselves in this one. And honestly, I do agree with that decision, and it pains me to say this, that because I want Ukraine to host and we'll all support them, but you cannot expect people, artists, delegations, fans, press to travel to a country where potentially there's still a war going on. And yes, we don't know. That's another point, how things will be like come next May, but the EBU cannot wait until then to make a decision. As they pointed out, it takes almost a year to plan such a major event, so negotiations and talks have to start now, so venues can book it, can start planning and put forward a layout for the bidding process. So it is just, time is not on their side either, and a decision had to be made. So I completely understand, respect, and support the decision by the EBU. I mean, safety. I mean, just the safety part alone, so important. And even if safety can be guaranteed, because at that point there will be no longer any attacks. Again, we don't know. Infrastructure, it's too many uncertainties, too many unknowns for any sort of production to move forward. And it's not just only then, we still have to travel, not we, but the EBU and other organizers up there frequently to check on the progress that's being made. So yes, it's not a great situation, because I also understand Ukraine's desire to host a contest, and it must really suck for them right now. So there is probably no fantastic solution, but I think the best solution right now is have the second placer UK host the contest and go from there. So now that we have established that Ukraine will not host it, even though the Ukraine is still pushing hard, it's not going to change, right? Most of us knew it was going to be the case anyway. Some people still thought it was going to happen, but no. The process is now shifting to what country is going to host, to what city is going to host the contest. And this is the area that we're more familiar with. And as you can imagine, the British broadcaster BBC, more than willing to host. And there are a lot of cities already voiced their interest on hosting the contest. Proper bids will come forward in the near future, I'm sure, but now it's all happening, and so many official statements have been made already. Let's go through some of them here real quick. One of the ones high up there is probably Glasgow, Scotland. And how cool would that be? I mean, Scotland was the fictional host city of the movie Eurovision, the story of Fire Saga, and it was kind of ironic all of a sudden us ending up there now. Now, there is the arena OVO Hydros, and it seats 14,000 fans. And as a reminder to those, there is a minimum requirement set by the EBU of 10,000 spectators. you know, the minimum. I know that Tel Aviv was kind of on the edge there a little bit. There are exceptions that can be made, but you have to be as close as possible to that number. And Nicola Sturgeon, she's the Minister of Scotland, she voiced her support to bring the contest to Scotland, saying, "We wish Eurovision could be in Ukraine, but understand that in circumstances this isn't possible. However, I can think of a perfect venue on the banks of the River Clyde." And yes, that is certainly, I've never been to Scotland, first of all. That would be a big plus for me. Another Scottish city, by the way, that voiced the interest in hosting, far, far up north. The city has a population of 222,000, Aberdeen, Scotland. If you add the greater metro area, we have talking about almost 500,000 people. It's much bigger than you think. I didn't even realize how big it is, actually. Now, the suggested arena is P&J Live, capacity 15,000 people. Another country on the country. See, I'm still stuck on that. Another city that is in the running, or at least voiced the interest, is Manchester, and it's a big city. I think it's the third biggest city. And besides like a large LGBT scene, it is known to have a busy nightlife. There is certainly no access issue. We got the big Manchester airport. I've been to that one. Also, lots of and vast number of public transportation connecting all the suburbs, easily accessible, everything. So logistically, a great choice. Plus, the BBC office for that area is right there as well. And they have the Manchester AO, I think, is quite big. 20,000 people can fit in there. And I know that would be a big demand in the UK, so that would give a lot more people access. Maybe you have to subtract something because, you know, you have a stage there, you have a green room, you have a backstage area, yada, yada, yada. Now, the arena is available from what we can see at this point, so the Manchester Council is ready to rock and roll as well, saying, "We can think of the perfect place to host Eurovision 23. I wonder what city they're referring to. So, not a surprise, Manchester, one of the options. Then Liverpool, England, also a candidate. Now, all I think of when I hear that city, of course, is the Beatles, but it's a city full of history, especially when it comes to music. And then there is the M&S Bank Arena, fits 11,000 spectators. Also, there's a layout overall would work. There's a convention center next door that they can utilize for other things, such as the press center. It would be just a great setup, and the mayor of Liverpool did say, "We send our love and solidarity as always to people of Ukraine. Our city would love to do you proud and give you a beautiful country the Eurovision platform it deserves." Birmingham, England. Yes, another country, why can't I keep saying country? City in the running. Birmingham, obviously everyone lives in London in the UK, but Birmingham, second largest city in the UK, therefore obviously a candidate by default. I mean, we're talking, over 1 million people living there. And the last time, though, the UK hosted the contest back in 1998, it actually took place in Birmingham. Maybe that'll actually hurt the city's odds. I don't know, but the Utilita Arena has a capacity of 15,000, so that works out. And Councillor John O'Shea wrote on Twitter, "Birmingham has done it before and can do it again." Who else is a candidate? Belfast, Northern Ireland. Now, Northern Ireland never hosted the contest, so this would be a first, and I'm all about first. Now, that doesn't mean they have no experience hosting major events. They hosted like the MTV Awards, among other events in the past. The SSE Arena, also big enough, 11,000 seats, meets the minimum requirements, and it looks as the arena is available in May. Big factor. Keep in mind, it's not just like a 2-week gig for the shows, it's over a month. So they need to put a big chunk of time, and it's a non-starter for a lot of events because they book artists and shows way in advance, like a year in advance. So sometimes they can move stuff around, but that is a big plus. And Belfast Screen Party told Belfast Live, "The Eurovision Song Contest is watched by millions of fans around the world, and host countries often use the opportunity to promote their countryside, towns and cities beyond the city limits. So not only would be a huge opportunity for Belfast, but also for the whole of Northern Ireland to be shown off on the world stage." And then London, duh! I mean, London has to be on that list, right? I mean, let that sink in. 9 million people live there. The greater area, that's more than a lot of countries in Europe alone. So, I mean, they have a gazillion major airports on top of it, including the very busy Heathrow airport. And so getting to London is not going to be an issue, and there are very cheap flights to the city. Now, granted, staying there, maybe a different story, because that's going to be expensive. Now, there are several potential venues there. They all have more than one option, which is good. The O2 Arena, OVO Wembley, and so the London's Mayor Sadiq Khan said, London would welcome Eurovision with open arms. We are ready to step up and support Ukraine by hosting a contest that pays tribute to and honors the Ukrainian people, also celebrates the very best of Britain too. I love how everyone had the tweets ready. Like, as soon as the announcement was made, clearly this has been already in the making. Everyone has been informed. As soon as the EBU said, it's not Ukraine, boom, 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 all these comments came out. So, very interesting. And then another one, Leeds, England. Another contender. The city has a venue, meeting the requirements. First direct arena, I think, 13,000 seats, yay! The comments that we received from Leeds was, given that we will be midway through the Leeds 23 Year of Culture, hosting Eurovision could not come at a better time. We are extremely disappointed that Ukraine will be unable to host, but it would be an honor to host on behalf of them, especially given the West Yorkshire is home to a large number of Ukrainians. If we are successful with our bid, we will be looking to get the local Ukrainian community involved with our plans as much as possible. That's a great selling point there. Wolverhampton, England. Actually, I'm not familiar with that city, but Claire Dark, one of the city councillors, apparently she was the mayor previously, she is urging the government to issue the funds so the city can do that. And she is very, very passionate about it. She released a longer statement. And yes, they are definitely want to do it. Maybe an outside chance here. Who knows? Then also, we haven't forgotten about Wales, Cardiff. One of the MPs of Cardiff, Kevin Brennan, very excited, saying on Twitter, clearly, Eurovision should be held at the Principality Stadium, roof closed, Cardiff, with 70,000 partygoers. No brainer. Once again, love the attitude, love the passion. That is what we're looking for. So those are some of the major options here. Clearly, there will be a lot of talk, a lot of dialogue going on, maybe another few months before we have an actual host city. But at least we are at a point now, despite Ukraine's very vocal disappointment and frustration about not being able to host, we kind of DK and BBC EBU, we got to move on and focus on that. Now, I know that the UK has been trying to diversify exposures to cities, right? So rather than having the large events in the large cities, the famous cities, take all the tourism and exposure and having it prestige to host such a major event. So it's a big deal for a lot of places. So I don't know then if London or Birmingham will be the best choices or the obvious choices anymore. That doesn't mean they're out of the running, but I don't think they will be the chosen ones. That's just a hunch of mine. I think Glasgow seems to me a perfect option in Scotland. And I think I would have, based on personal thoughts and opinions, Belfast as the runner-up option. That doesn't mean I'm dismissing any of the less obvious choices like Leeds, Liverpool, Aberdeen. The good thing is, the UK it doesn't have a shortage of options, which is great. But Glasgow would be just, it's a selfish reasons, I want to go to Scotland. And I think it's all just the stars lining up for Scotland to host it. They're ready, they have a large city, they have all the venues ready for it, and it would be a new place, giving Scotland some additional exposure. And of course, we always know the relationship that Scotland has with the UK, so that would be a very nice gesture. At the same time, I think it would be fantastic and amazing to go to Northern Ireland. I've never been to Belfast, and I'd love that experience, so I'd be completely on board with that as well. As pointed out, I love, first places kind of situations, and that would be a first thing for Northern Ireland. So, plus, it looks so beautiful. I want to go. So yeah, that would certainly be my top 2 choices. Once again, everything I heard here, none of them strike me as, oh, I don't want to go. So some of them I don't have as much experience with. Liverpool, Leeds, Aberdeen, less on my radar, but I'm very open to them as well. I will read up on them as we get more information on the bidding process. And yes, London, I've been there so many times, so that I feel as it's probably not the best option. Plus, it has a lot of things working against it. Number one, so expensive. Like, none of us will be able to afford there. It is too big. There is such a thing as being too big to host Eurovision, I think, only because everything would be so spread out. Events, people living there, delegations. It's just going to be, I think, more messy than helpful in the end. I think that we need to go for something a little bit more accessible, if that makes sense. So the other cities maybe stand out a little bit more. Manchester, Birmingham, of course, you know, a little smaller, still big, and would be perfectly suitable for this kind of event as well. And as pointed out, Birmingham, maybe not the top contender. I still think the fact that they just hosted it last time, I know it's been over 20 years, it will be 25 years, so it's been a long time, but still, I still think there will be other cities that will get a shot at hosting over Birmingham, so I don't think that'll be the one. And then Manchester is always a candidate, right? It's a big city, it is well known to host big major events, access super easy, so I think that Manchester is another really good option, and as of right now, I think this would be the number 3 on my list. But again, none of the other ones I completely dismiss. I don't want you to think that I have an issue with any of the other cities. There's not one place that I'm like, I don't want to go there. So I think the UK has really good options, and I'm really, really excited. I know we still got a few months, but at least we're at this point right now. Curious to hear what your thoughts are on this whole situation. Do you think that we are in for more trouble with Ukraine? I hope this is not going to get to a place where Ukraine is so upset about this that they're going to withdraw. I know I'm probably just getting too paranoid over it. But yeah, I understand the disappointment. I understand everyone involved and why they feel the way they do and why decisions were made. It's just everything, common sense, I understand both sides here. EBU has to make a decision, safety, logistics, all of that stuff. It just wasn't viable. That's just, in a nutshell, the answer. And I understand Ukraine's desire to host it under any circumstances, looking at the circumstances they find themselves in. But it just sucks. It just really sucks. But I'm glad that they will go with the runner-up. And if something like this were to happen in the future, no more wars. I don't want any more wars. But I'm just saying, where if a country that wins the contest is unable to host, that will start dialogue with the runner-up. That should always be the first go-to. So that is my hope, and we'll see what's going to happen. Let me know what your thoughts are about this whole situation in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.